thought I'd just do a quick little video about electrics. I've noticed a few people asking questions, especially for beginners, is what do the various sockets do? Can I use my kettle on this when I'm wild camping, or those sort of questions? And I know remembering back when I first started, it is a bit confusing. I mean, exactly what do all these sockets do? So I'm just going to sort of take you around the van and describe what some of the sockets do, and perhaps just look at some of the electrics that we've got on the van. So I think we'll start with the mains. I mean, currently I've got the van plugged in to the mains socket. The mains power is in, so that means that sockets like this are going to have power on them. So I've got a main socket there, two main sockets there, the microwave's on, and that's powered from a socket in the cupboard there. The Aldi central heating, that's powered from mains power. So I know at least those, another main socket down there, and whoop, another one over there. So those main sockets are all powered, so I can use things like the vacuum cleaner in that. Not that I'd take this massive great big vacuum cleaner with me when we go camping. As you can see, we're having a little bit of a tidy up here. So that's the mains sockets. So I mean, most people are familiar with a 3-pin mains socket. You use those just as you were at home. The only proviso is how much electricity the site provides, and you can find that normally on site information. Most of the bigger sites provide 16 amps, so there's a limit to how many things you can use. So, you know, 3 bar fires and hair dryers and everything on at once is going to trip the mains. So where does it come in? Well, let me show you where it comes in. So it comes in on one of these blue plugs, and you plug that in when you're on site, or in my case when I'm at home I just run a lead from the garage. It then comes in to one of these boxes, so you have something similar, power supply unit, and you can see up there it says mains 230 volt protection. So you've got some protection up there, and these devices are residual current detection devices, and they protect you if there's a problem with the mains, so they're very important. And you can switch the whole thing off by doing that. So everything's off now, so all the mains sockets will be dead. I'm just going to switch that back on. And, so you've got a couple of lights up there. This one here tells you if it's a bit difficult to see in this light, but it tells you if it's reverse polarity. Apparently some continental sites don't seem to bother which way the mains or the live lead go round, and sometimes they're reversed. This light tells you the charger's on, and I'll come to that in a little bit later, and that tells you the heating and the hot water's on. So that's mainly, that part of it there is to do with the mains protection. So what does this device do? Well, it also helps control the other sockets. So what do I mean by the other sockets? Well, let's have a look. I mean sockets like this one down here. That looks like a cigarette lighter type socket, and that is a 12 volt socket. Okay. And if I wander around the van, you'll see a few of these about. Here's another one. That one is used for powering the telly. Okay, and got another one in the bedroom, same sort of thing. It looks a bit like that. Okay, so those are the 12 volt sockets. Okay, and it's controlled by this panel up here. Okay, this is the, if you like, the 12 volt control panel. Now, I know I've looked at this in previous videos, but all the lights tell you what it does. So these are the 12 volt things. So I've got a leisure battery and I've got a vehicle battery. What does that mean? Well, let's have a look. Right, so this is my leisure battery. Okay, it's actually two batteries. When I got the van, this battery was in it, but I also had a spare one there. Now, although they're the same capacity batteries, as you can see, they're different sizes, which is not ideal. Ideally, they should be identical batteries, so I better mention that before anyone comments on that. It seems to work okay, but I'm told that one battery won't charge as well as the other. But I thought, well, two batteries are better than one. So that is your leisure battery. Now, it's getting technical now. They're both 110 amp hour batteries. That means, in theory, they could supply 110 amps for 1 hour, or if you halve that, 55 amps for 2 hours, and so on. And that's how you work out the capacity of a battery. Right, this is the vehicle battery. Now I've had to remove this panel here to get at it, but that's, if it was a car, that'd be a car battery. As you can see, that's under the seat by the passenger side. Right, so the next question is, how do you charge the batteries? There's actually three ways. When I'm on electric hookup, the mains electricity is turned into 12 volts by this charger here. It's a battery charger. Let's see, what does it say? It's a 3-stage switching mode battery charger. I don't know what that means, but basically it charges the battery when you're on electric hookup. Okay, the second way is when you're driving, and that's straight off the alternator. So the same alternator that charges the battery under the seat there, the van battery, can also charge the leisure batteries down there, and that's by using a little relay that allows it to charge the batteries. When one's charged enough, it can then charge the other batteries. So if you drive a very long way, hopefully you'll arrive with both batteries fully charged. So what do you do if you've got no mains hookup? Well, that's where the solar panel comes in. The solar panel provides 80 watts of electricity, and it's fed through this unit here, this little unit here. The red light just means it's on, but the green one means it's charging. So there's electricity coming from the solar, from the sun, being turned into electricity, and that's charging the battery as well. Right, so the big question is, which sockets work when you're plugged in, when you're driving, and when you're not plugged in but not driving? Well, if you're driving, it's a bit like a car. These sockets here, these 12 volt sockets, will work whilst you're driving along. As you can see, we're not driving anywhere, so no light on there, so that's off. So we've got two sockets here. That's fairly straightforward, so I can't use those when I'm on electric hookup, or even when I'm parked up without electric hookup doing a bit of wild camping. So basically everything back of this line here, as far as 12 volt goes, that's only when you're driving. Now we've disconnected the electricity, you can see there's no microwave on. What you'll find is these electric main sockets don't work. So absolutely no use plugging the vacuum in when you're not plugged in on electricity. Well, what still works are the 12 volt sockets. So these things back here, plug the telly in, and you can still switch the telly on. You can see the little red lights on, and you can still switch the telly on and off. Finally, I've got the engine running. I'm driving along, so sockets at the front work. Let's just take this with us, prove a point. If we go to the back, we'll look at this little socket down here. Blow me down, that one works. But the socket, the back here doesn't work. So, no telly whilst you're driving. So this is your 12 volt control panel. To switch the 12 volts supply on for the motorhome, for the caravan part of the motor caravan, press that button, everything comes on. Tells me I've got the leisure battery on at the moment. There's a little symbol there that says the leisure battery is charging. I can view the levels of the water, fresh water, wastewater. I can put the water pump on. It's empty at the moment, that's why it's making that horrible noise. I can put the frost protection on, and I can switch the cabin lights on from here as well. And you notice the central heating goes off if I switch the 12 volts off. So I can't do anything with that with the 12 volts off. Switch it on and everything comes back to life. On the heating, I can use electricity, or I can use gas, the gas symbol there. What I can't do is use 12 volts to heat it, so there's only two ways of heating. That's gas or mains electricity. So if I'm doing some wild camping, I'll switch it on to gas. On hookup, I'd switch it onto there and leave it like that. So how much electricity can I use? As you can see from my handbook, it gives you an idea what typical consumption figures are. So on 230 volts, a domestic refrigerator uses 0.8 amps. A 4 kilowatt heating system can use up to 7.8 amps. An Audi heating system can use up to 13.7 amps on the maximum setting. I tend to have it on the middle setting, which is 9.1. If you use the microwave, 5.5, the cooker hot plate, 3.7, and the battery charger, which has to be on to charge the battery, 3 amps. So if you had the cooker on, 6.7, did a microwave, put a microwave on, cool, blimey, maths, what's that, nearly 12 amps, and the heating was on as well, good grief. I think you get the idea. Now bear in mind that some site hookups are only 10 amps. You do have to be careful how many amps you're using even on electric hookup. If you look across to the 12 volt thing, the refrigerator's only on when you're driving on 12 volts, so it only uses 12 volts when you're driving. An Audi central heating can use 1 amp. Okay, and then the others are microwave, they're not on obviously. What else have you got? 12 volt lights, 0.5 amps, and a water tank frost element, 2.5. So you're not going to use a huge amount of electricity on 12 volts. As you can see, the biggest consumers are the cooker and the grill and the oven and those sort of things, which only work on 240 volts. Just wait for Poppy to sit down. Right, I hope you didn't find that too confusing. So here's a summary. The two 12 volt sockets in the front of the van only work when you're driving. They don't work when you're on either mains hookup or when you've stopped. The main socket at the back only work when you're on mains hookup. So the microwave, the sockets for your hair
Dry.
dryer. Thank you. I think it was called. You don't have curling tongs,
No,
do you?
no.
Or anything like that. Only work, like I say, when you're plugged into the mains. So you can't use your curling tongs when you're driving along. The 12 volt sockets at the back, well, I discovered that there's one 12 volt sockets that you can use either on mains hookup or when you're driving, which is really useful because it means that the passengers can charge their phones whilst you're going along. But the other two 12 volt sockets you use to power the tellies, they don't work when you're driving along, which is probably reasonable because
you don't want to watch the telly.
You wouldn't be want to watch.
You couldn't see it anyway, could you?
No.
Without turning your head 360 degrees.
That's right. So that's what I've learned. The other question a lot of people often ask is how long can you last when you're not on mains hookup? It's a bit like how long's a piece of string, really. But what's our experience?
Well, the only time we've really had any lengthy time like that was at Peterborough, wasn't it, for the Motorhome show?
Yeah.
And we camped on the field, and we were there 2-3 days.
I thought it was 4 nights actually.
No, it wasn't that long. I think we got there on the Thursday and we left on the Sunday.
Yeah. And
so
we still managed to drive away and use all the things. The thing is, during the summer you don't use a lot of lights. So I think the lights can use up a fair bit of electricity. As long as you don't have the telly on 24 hours a day, perhaps just a little bit of light telly in the evening, I think you're probably all right for 2 or 3 days, particularly with a solar panel. The solar panel's not going to charge your batteries, but it's going to top them up, so it can give them a little top up. It's only 80 watts, the solar panel, so it's not going to give you a lot of charge. What I think I'll do is I'll put some figures up. I'll do a little bit of maths. Yeah, and I'll put some figures up, and you have to let us know what you think. So anyway, that's it for this video. If you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Anyway, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, like I say, subscribe. Remember to hit the notifications icon. It looks like a little bell, and you'll get updates when I release a new video. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch up with you soon. Right, one thing I did forget to mention in yesterday's videos was the inverter that you can get. This is a 500 watt inverter, and as you can see, it's got crocodile clips that you can connect to your battery, and you switch it on, and what it gives you is, let's see it, is a 3-pin mains outlet. Now, I've got to admit, I'm not a huge fan of inverters, mainly because they can drain your battery fairly quickly. Now, someone told me that the formula for working out how much power you use is this. It uses 1 amp for every 10 watts that the inverter uses. So if this is a 500 watt inverter, it's going to use 50 amps if it was running at 500 watts. And that, as you can see, is a huge amount of power. So if you were taking 50 amps out of your battery, out of a 110 amp hour battery, that's going to last you 2 hours at the very most. And this is going to get very hot. So you wouldn't want to use something that consumes about 500 watts. Now, it's probably fine for charging up phones or something like that, as long as it's a reasonably expensive inverter. I think this is a modified sine wave inverter. The best ones you can get are called pure sine wave inverters, and they are more expensive, but they're safer for expensive things like laptops. I certainly wouldn't charge my laptop with this inverter. It's quite an old one, and I think I've used it about once. I used it to charge up a camera phone it must be about 5 years ago. I don't think I've ever used it since. I've forgotten I'd got it in the shed. So that's how much I use it. I'd much rather rely on solar panels, but I'm getting to the stage now where I need to find a DC charger for the laptop. So watch this space, really.